If there's one thing cartoon dads love more than sitting on their asses all day, it's cheating on their wives. It's like a superpower at this point, the way they pull multiple flings way out of their league despite sometimes being the lamest men alive. Is it built into their DNA? I mean, they say all men cheat, but could it just be the people around them, or is it both of them? There's only one way to find out. Let's go through all the times cartoon dads cheated. Starting with Peter Griffin, who has the most excused cheating record in cartoon history, because Lois's count overshadows him. Plus, his scandals always have weird twists to them. How else do you end up as a victim in a cheating scandal where you were the one that cheated? Yeah, you heard that right. Peter needed money and saw a flyer for a medical experiment paying good cash. So he signed up, and they injected him with the gay gene. Within days, this man packed his bag and left Lois for a guy named Scott. While Lois was at home with the 3 kids wondering what happened to her husband, Peter was out there living his best life with Scott. It got so bad that Stewie and Brian kidnapped him and sent him to a straight camp, but that didn't work out. So Lois eventually gave up and gave Peter her blessings to be with Scott. But right on cue, the gene wore off mid-orgy with Scott and 9 other men. I know, right? Who wouldn't snap out of it with 9 men around ready to pounce? The good part about it is, he went straight home to Lois, so we know where his head really was the whole time. He was just reacting to the chemical. But this wasn't even the first time Peter got in bed with another man. He had the prestigious honor of sleeping with the former president Bill Clinton, and the story behind it is genuinely one of the most chaotic things to ever happen in that marriage. Peter helped Clinton fix his broken down limo outside the house, and they immediately clicked. They started hanging out, smoking weed together, stealing pigs from farms, playing Dance Dance Revolution at Chuck E. Cheese. Lois saw this and was like, hey, I want my boring husband back. She got fed up watching this former president lead her husband astray, so she went into Clinton's apartment to end the friendship herself. Somehow, she walked out with an extra body count, courtesy of the ex-president. Peter found out and was hurt, so he went to Clinton's apartment to clear the air. But apparently, he took more interest in feeling what Lois felt rather than hearing about it. Bro let Clinton hit that Griffin package for the 2nd time that day. But to be fair, Lois did say he could sleep with whoever he wanted to get even. It was just shocking that he chose Clinton. If someone had told me something unexpected was going to happen there, I would have voted in favor of them throwing hands, but I guess there's a reason this man's name is all over the Epstein files. If you think this was weird, wait till you find out that the next time Peter cheated on Lois was with Lois. Peter got his family sued after his pet falcon helped him steal a motorcycle, so Lois had to go find a job to cover the bills, and she ended up at a phone sex operation, working under the alias Classy, but Peter had no idea. She came home exhausted every night and kept turning him down in bed, so Peter went to the guys for advice, and Quagmire handed him the number to his favorite phone sex line. Peter called, and it was Lois on the other end of the phone. She recognized his voice immediately, but entertained him anyways. Peter was loving the vibe, so he kept calling back and eventually told Classy that he wanted to meet in person. Lois agreed just to catch him in the act. She put on a black dress and a blonde wig as a disguise. Yeah, she already knew how gullible her husband was, and he fell for it. Peter met her at a motel, and they had intimate relations for 8 hours before Lois took the wig off. But Peter was right on brand to twist it by claiming he somehow always knew it was her voice, and that she was the only one who could kid him so down bad. Lois just had to let him off the hook. You can't argue with 8 hours now, can you? Peter is so slick with it. How come he always has a reasonable excuse? The gay gene with Scott, the cheap back clause with Clinton, and his soulmate lie. But that's about it, because he didn't have any right to be in one of his best friend's house at night, enjoying a roast beef casserole with Joe's wife, Bonnie. To cap it, he called it the best meal of his life. That should have been the end of it, but hey, the man just discovered a meal that sent shockwaves down his taste buds. He had to keep sneaking over to eat Bonnie's cooking every time Joe was away, lying to Lois about where he was, hiding when Joe came back early. They were like sneaky links without actually getting in bed, but that doesn't make it any less cheating. If you think it's not cheating, just think about all the times he lied to Lois or when he'd leave his family just to be with Bonnie. Would you be okay with your partner always lying to get away from you so they could go sneak around with someone else? There, you have your answer. No excuse for Peter this time. Peter Griffin is a serial cheater and an expert at making it look 101% a mistake, but he still doesn't have half as many bodies as Klay Puppington. And I'm just saying half to make it look comparable. Klay Puppington slept with multiple women throughout Moral Oral, and he did all of it as the married mayor of Moralton, probably the most aggressively religious town in cartoon history. Klay didn't love Blauberta, but he married her because it was expected in this miserable town of Morrilton. It was just an empty arrangement they both settled into. They were so disconnected that they slept in separate beds, and Klay had to drink constantly just to get through the day. The only place he could find happiness was outside the house. Coincidentally, his son Oral accidentally set up a prostitution service in Morrilton, and Klay was among the first set of people to patronize it. When Oral saw him making an appointment, you'd think he'd beg or at least explain himself, but he just continued with it and went on to gaslight Oral later to keep adult matters private. It's just so obvious that Klay wanted to come back as many times as possible, so he had to be sure he had Oral on lock. While he was keeping all that locked away in secret, the whole town was watching him openly flirt with his son's gym teacher, Coach Stopframe, in broad daylight. Stopframe was his drinking buddy, always there with him and giving him attention, making Klay feel seen in ways Blauberta never did. So it was easy for this bond to grow into a full secret affair with Stopframe over the years, and they enjoyed it, until one day Klay snapped, drank himself to the edge, and confessed everything to Blauberta. After all those years of hiding, cheating, and using people, Klay lost his wife's trust, his secret lover, and whatever dignity he had left, all at the same time. That's the thing with cheating. You're playing both sides, but you never truly own anyone. So getting caught is like your entire world falling apart. It's just you with nowhere else to go. Stephen Stotch is a bit similar to Klay. He managed to keep up a great front for his marriage. On the outside, Stephen and Linda looked like the perfect suburban couple, but Stephen was not satisfied on the inside. He had a whole secret life running behind that he couldn't afford to show the world. Stephen was bi-curious. He started experimenting with men online, and it felt so much better than anything he had at home, until it turned into a full addiction. So while Linda was at home being a devoted wife, Stephen was sneaking off to a gay bathhouse called the White Swallow on their anniversary night. Stephen could have kept going without anyone ever noticing if Linda hadn't sent Butters to follow him and find out what anniversary gift he was planning so she wouldn't be outdone. Butters came home and innocently handed her photos of what Stephen was doing at the bathhouse. Next thing we know, Linda fainted on the spot. Stephen had to shut down his whole operation after that to protect the family name and keep their respectable suburban status intact. But years later, it came out that he had been attending glory holes and affair websites the whole time. He never actually stopped. He just got better at hiding it. And Linda probably knew because she kept a book in their bathroom called Dealing with Your Gay Husband. She just decided to ignore his extracurricular activities to keep the peace. Most times when men cheat, they don't just ruin their own lives. They make sure their wife is left cleaning their mess, staying unhappy while trying to look happy for everyone else. Beatrice Horseman would regret the day she got married to Butterscotch because this man was a walking disappointment. She met Butterscotch at her own debutante party in 1963, which he crashed for the free booze. She was a wealthy heiress with her whole future mapped out, while he was a broke aspiring novelist from Indiana with no real pain. His riz had to be heavenly that night to make her ditch her own party, get pregnant that same night, and marry him against her father's wishes. Butterscotch sold her dreams of a solid future and a happy life in California. But the dreams only lasted till their wedding night. After that, he resented Beatrice for coming from money that he couldn't provide. Beatrice resented Butterscotch for failing to be the man that she gave everything up for. They drank heavily, verbally abused each other, and took everything out on Bojack. But through all that, Butterscotch still made time for multiple affairs. When Beatrice confronted him about sleeping with the secretary, he sat there and told her that if his secretary had also refused an abortion, he would have married her instead. He said that right in front of his own son without blinking. I can't lie, Butterscotch was a real piece of shit, and his cruelty made Beatrice grow colder and let the bitterness swallow all the warmth that she had left. But Butterscotch couldn't care less. He actually loved it, because Beatrice eventually stopped nagging as much whenever he started his shenanigans. So in 1999, he started another affair, this time with Henrietta, their young housekeeper who was putting herself through nursing school. Henrietta got pregnant, and all of a sudden, alpha male Butterscotch became a crybaby. He went straight to Beatrice in tears and asked her to handle it. Don't get me wrong, he didn't beg for mercy, he just wanted her to take care of the mess that he created. And she did. Beatrice went to Henrietta and made her a deal. Give up the baby for adoption and she would pay her nursing school tuition in full. She even told Henrietta straight, don't let that man poison your life the way he did mine. And just like that, everything was sorted and back to normal again. How do you get two people pregnant outside of your marriage? Didn't he learn anything from the first one? Maybe he didn't care. His whole plan from the beginning was to get with Beatrice for her money and break her heart multiple times to feel better about being broke. And we can't put it past him or any other cartoon husband. Some of them have crazy evil motives like that. Nolan Grayson, for example, married Debbie to complete his mission assignment from the Viltrumites. His job was to blend in on Earth, build a life, and weaken the planet for invasion. And he was so good at role-playing that Debbie never once questioned his loyalty in 20 years of marriage. When the truth finally came out, Nolan beat his own son half to death and flew off into space without a single word to Debbie. Then Mark got a distress call from a planet called Thraxa. He showed up expecting a crisis, but found his father kissing Andressa, an insectoid alien. Nolan had become king of this planet, married this woman, and had a whole new son named Oliver, all while Debbie was still in shock back on Earth. Bro started a whole new family. Now, Debbie could fully relate to the people that called Omni-Man a destroyer of worlds, because he shattered hers into pieces and left her broken. Now, if you sum up the flings all 5 men on this list had, their numbers still don't come close to the amount of people Cotton Hill slept with. Over 200. It doesn't even sound right, but Cotton made it happen. That's real dedication to the game. But out of over 200 people, only one actually meant something to him, and it wasn't his wife Tilly. Cotton met his one and only love, Michiko, during the war in Japan. She was the nurse assigned to take care of him when he got injured during combat. And even though it was forbidden for soldiers to have any relationships with Japanese women, he and Michiko snuck around anyway and fell completely in love. I think the tough circumstances made their bond even stronger. There's just something that breaking the rules to be with someone does to you. That me and you against the world feeling, that's what Cotton and Michiko had. Cotton even tried to stay behind in Japan when the war ended, but the armed forces knocked him unconscious and sent him home on a ship. Neither of them knew she was pregnant at the time, so Michiko raised their son Junichiro alone for 50 years. Cotton came back from Japan and got married to Tilly, but he made sure she knew from the jump that she wasn't his first choice. Cotton verbally abused her throughout their entire marriage, literally used her as a footstool, and hated everything about their lives together, all because he couldn't get Michiko off his mind. To him, she was the one that got away, while Tilly was just the one he stuck with. And no matter how long they stayed together, Cotton could never feel the same way he felt in the short time he spent with Michiko. That's why he went back to Japan decades later just to see Michiko one more time, because even after all those years, she was still the one. Ignore Cotton and Michiko for a second. Tilly's position is actually one of the saddest places to be in life. Someone settling for you because they couldn't get the person of their dreams, and now they take out all the sadness and put it onto you like it's your fault. That's how suffocating life got for Tilly because she finally had enough and left. These men clearly cheated and said, damn the consequences, I need to get out of here. But there are a few cases where the guy doesn't have any intention to cheat but somehow ends up doing it all the same. Like Homer Simpson. Homer's one of the most loyal husbands on this entire list, and it's not even up for argument. But a new coworker named Mindy made him actually question if he got the right wife. Mindy liked beer, donuts, TV, and napping. She was basically a female Homer. The universe kept throwing them together. They got sent to a convention, shared a hotel room, and had a romantic dinner after winning King and Queen of Energy. Then later that night, Mindy dropped a bombshell by confessing her feelings to Homer. Homer was completely torn between cheating and staying loyal to Marge. But in the end, he decided to stick with Marge because he genuinely loved her despite their differences. Mindy accepted it, but they shared a small kiss before she left, and that's the issue. I know they didn't want to leave their feelings unattended to, but you really can't be out there kissing other people when you have a wife at home. That's borderline cheating, but it's so cute we just had to allow it. Then Homer got into an even bigger scandal while having fun with Ned at Vegas. They both got absolutely hammered and both woke up married to cocktail waitresses. Homer didn't remember a single second of the wedding. Not the vows, not the ring, not any of it. When his supposed wife Amber tracked him down months later with video evidence, the judge refused to grant an annulment because Nevada law recognized the marriage as fully valid. So Homer took her home, but refused to touch her throughout their stay together. He genuinely only wanted Marge. Homer had these opportunities served on a platter, but he still found a way to choose his wife both times. The Las Vegas one wasn't even his choice, that was just a blackout and a very aggressive state marriage law. So I won't call Homer a cheat, but he was totally wrong for that kiss. Especially if we're comparing him with Jerry Smith. Just like Homer, Jerry Smith never so much as looked at another woman apart from Beth. This is even more remarkable when you consider that nobody made it easier to cheat than Beth Smith. Jerry loved Beth deeply throughout their entire marriage, while Beth spent most of it questioning whether she had settled, making him feel small at every opportunity. A marriage counseling facility in another dimension looked at them and said this was the single worst marriage they had ever seen, but Jerry still stayed. The one time he came anywhere close to an affair was when a brain parasite called Sleepy Gary infected the household and planted false memories into everyone. In Jerry's version of reality, Sleepy Gary was Beth's husband and Jerry was his secret lover. When Sleepy Gary got shot and dissolved back into an alien, Jerry dropped to his knees and begged to be shot too so he could be with Gary in death. He couldn't imagine a world without the love of his life. I don't even consider this as cheating, to be honest. The whole situation just shows how down bad Jerry gets when he loves someone, and in reality, the only person he loves is Beth. Everything that happens in the head stays in the head, especially since it happened just once. If it continued, then maybe I would call him out for being a cheat, but right now, nah, he's clean. It's very different for someone like Stan Smith, who kept finding himself in these situations on purpose. Stan was loyal to Francine, no doubt about that, until he found out about her sex garden. Francine had a rosebush for every man she had been with, and it turned out to be the biggest sex garden in North America. Stan, who had only ever been with Francine his entire life, was so disturbed that he couldn't function at home anymore. Francine told him to go sleep with someone else to even the score, but she didn't actually expect him to go through with it. Too late now, the cat was already out of the bag. Stan went out, met a woman named Joanna at a shooting range, fell in love, and slept with her 5 times. You already know that man was starving. Then, the Smiths relocated to Saudi Arabia, and Stan fully embraced the local culture by marrying a second wife. That's a really crazy loophole, because it's illegal in most parts of the world to have 2 wives, but very legal in Saudi. Stan doing it there doesn't make it any less cheating, though, because they already had their vows, and Francine was clearly not okay with it. And then there was spring break. Stan acted completely single, flirted with multiple women, and eventually kissed one. Just out here doing whatever he wanted like he didn't have a wife at home. It's just so hard to blame Stan for all his mistakes after everything Francine put him through. She literally cheated on him at her own bachelorette party before they even got married, and Haley's paternity is still in question. So, as much as I agree that Stan cheated quite a few times, I don't think Francine deserved a loyal man. Just look at the way she turned innocent Stan into a serial cheat. He's the last one on my list of cartoon dads who went looking for something they weren't getting from their partners. Some had their reasons, and to be fair, they were valid to some extent. Some already had their excuses cooked up before they even stepped out, while some just didn't care. And it's no coincidence that most of these dads also made my list of most hated cartoon dads of all time. I ranked them in my video on the most loved versus most hated cartoon dads. So check it out if you want to see who exactly made the list and how they're ranked.